But I think it's pretty crazy that when a new movie or TV trailer comes out, somebody in the comments will say, man, that looks like a CW show, and everyone in the comments will know what they mean with no further explanation. I've seen a lot of YouTubers take a swing at this topic, but in my personal opinion, nobody's really hit on why or how these shows became the way that they are. So as a person who's been watching these shows since 2006 to the network's creation, I figured I'd put together a video of 4 reasons how and why the CW has become a beacon for mediocrity. Now, mainly I'm going to be talking about the CW hero shows, but this pretty much applies to all their recent efforts. Look, man, I'm not here to waste your time, so let's go ahead and get right into it. Reason number 1, the CW is stuck in the past. The format in which they release their shows is completely outdated. I mean, the series usually run 19 to 22 episodes per season, which is way too long. I mean, seriously, when's the last time you sat down and binged a show that long without it just turning into background noise while you messed around on your phone? Contrary to popular opinion, man, the shows usually have a pretty good start to them, and the concept sounds good on paper, but they aren't really able to explore the themes properly because the writers have to spend so much time writing fluff and filler. Nearly every season of a CW show has some dumb side plot that you can skip altogether and still understand the main story just fine. And it's not that the side plots are there that's a problem. Side plots are fine and normal in TV, and honestly, in my personal opinion, they are necessary to keep a show running long term. But most of the CW side plots end up leading to nowhere. They just kind of abruptly end and then they're never mentioned again. A couple exceptions to the rule like Stargirl and Superman and Lois, but those two aren't actually CW shows. Those two shows are produced by HBO Max and they just air live on the CW. Even if you don't like either of those shows, you can clearly tell they have a much bigger budget than their soap opera-like contemporaries. And speaking of soap opera-like contemporaries, that is reason number 2 why the CW has become so mediocre. They want every single show to be a soap opera. Damn near every show on the CW has all the cliche tropes of a soap, like the long-lost relatives, sometimes they're a twin, the people who you thought were dead all of a sudden magically reappear, huge overly dramatic twists that you can see from a mile away, and the annoying relationship drama that plagues every single one of the shows on their network. Don't get it twisted, man. I love my cheesy soap operas. We didn't have a lot of money growing up, so the only TV we had was the basic old standard cable that came with any apartment building. So I used to watch all those cheesy soap operas with my mom, as well as all the cheesy CWs like Gossip Girl back in the day. I have no problem with the genre of soap operas as a whole, and I think it can even work in some modern day TV shows. I just don't think superhero shows or the type of shows that the CW is trying to do work very well with that formula. Relationship being the main plot of a story is fine for something like Jane the Virgin, which I love. Definitely a guilty pleasure. Honestly, I'm not even going to say guilty pleasure. It's just a really dope show. It works for a show like that. But if I'm watching Arrow, like the Green Arrow, I don't want to see a full season of Will They Won't They with Felicity Smoke. I want to see him jumping off of buildings, shooting people in the ass with a bow and arrow. And I also think it's weird that they try to force these soap opera-like connections between the characters. Like, why did they make Barry and Iris grow up like brother and sister and raised by the same man? I thought that was a really weird dynamic, and it was kind of off-putting to me. Which takes me into topic number 3 on why the CW has fallen into a pit of mediocrity, and that is trying to reach too many audiences. And speaking of trying to reach too many different audiences, man, at the time of recording this video, I only have about 12 subscribers.
To the 12 people always liking my post, y'all want anything from the gas station?
I've been working my ass off, writing, shooting, and recording these videos, man. So if you have stuck around this far, go ahead and give this video a like and consider subscribing to my channel. And by the way, you really need to stick around for these last 2 reasons because in my personal opinion, they're the most important 2 reasons why the CW is where they are right now. And about what I was saying about trying to reach too many audiences, man, they really want to be edgy, but they also want to be lighthearted. They want to be fun and for children, but at the same time, appeal to young adults while also trying to reach older millennials like myself. And it just does not work. Nearly every show on their network is suffering from an identity crisis. They don't seem to know what they really want to be. Like the Supergirl show clearly is written for children, little girls in particular. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that, but if you want to make a show for little kids, then make a show for little kids. Before she ever had a crossover episode, she was in her own world, separate from The Flash, separate from Arrow and all the others. If you wanted to make a show for kids, then why not just keep her in her own world and go all in with the kid theme? At least that way the clunky dialogue and the not so subtle social messages will be understandable because we would know who the audience is for the show. but I digress. For the most part, most of the videos that I've seen people make about the CW, they always bring up the topic of SJW, especially when they're talking about shows that are female-led or black-led.
Legends, Supergirl, Black Lightning, and even Batwoman keep pushing racial, gay, and social justice agendas into their shows. I don't mind having racially diverse characters on these shows, but when it influences the story, I just lose all hope immediately.
And honestly, I don't find anything wrong with that critique because it clearly is there, but that's not the main issue. Because honestly, comic book characters have always been a medium for writers to express political or social messages. I don't think the topics themselves are the issue. Like, take Captain America for instance. He was literally created for American politics and social issues. There is a Captain America comic where he went to war on drugs. I can't make this up. Also, in his solo movies in the MCU, they revolve heavily around all kinds of social issues. But the movies are enjoyable because they show you over time instead of spoon feeding you with dialogue. The messages they want to relay through him are told to us through his story and showing us through his actions and reactions to situations he's in. We find out that compassion for his loved ones is more important to him than some bogus rules, not because they give him a speech about love and family. We find out through his actions in Civil War. He's willing to give up on everything he stood for to redeem his friend, even though his friend's done some awful and unlawful acts and a lot of crimes of violence. Relaying that type of message takes a lot of care in the writing room because it's easy to make a character like Cap be very preachy. Which takes me into the last reason why the CW became a living, breathing meme. The CW is a writer's sweatshop. They hire little kids and pay them 22 cents per hour to write these stories within weeks. I'm just playing, y'all relax, man. I could easily use this section to talk about the god-awful writing in some of these shows, but why beat a dead horse? So many people have bashed on the CW for their writing. There's hundreds of compilations out there from all different shows just showing terrible writing, so it's just no need to break that part down.
Oh, no touching without consent.
Last point I want to get into is something that I never see people talk about when it comes to these CW comic book character adaptations. Live action superhero medium does not work as episodic television. Hear me out. These live action shows work best when they're told like an extended movie rather than a drawn out TV show. Take a look at any of the beloved superhero shows that anyone raves about, like Daredevil, the first 2 seasons of Arrow, season 1 of Flash, Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, etc. Yes, these are all live action TV shows about superheroes, but the stories were very contained and for the most part only juggled one story and had very little filler. Adapting a live action superhero show in traditional TV format puts a little too much on the plate of these writers. Writers who for the most part are writing multiple shows for the CW. It also puts way too much strain on the actors as well. Like most of these CW hero shows are shot in Canada because it's cheaper to shoot there. Because of that, when they're on location, they often shoot multiple seasons in one setting. The main reason Stephen Amell wanted to leave Arrow is because about 10 months out of the year was spent shooting for the show and he rarely got to see his kid. If you're unaware of the time that it takes to write these TV shows, I'll give you a little bit of an idea. An hour of a TV show can be broken down in about 45 to 62 pages of material. Multiply that by 2 seasons. For a CW show, that's roughly 42 episodes. And we're looking at 1,900 to 2,600 pages of material that needs to be ready to go. Not just ready to go, it also needs to be flexible enough to drop and to change an entire season when an actor gets fired or quits the CW, which seems to happen a lot on the CW. I don't know about you, but I used to get pissed getting those little 5 to 10 page paper essays from my teacher in high school and college. I can't even imagine writing a 2,000 page story. And not just a 2,000 page story, but one that I also have to make connect to another show that I may or may not have even written on. I'd be physically and mentally exhausted. And in my personal opinion, that's why most of these CW shows seem to start off so well, then rapidly decline and go downhill. In traditional television, most of these shows are being made up and changed on the fly. And in my personal opinion, that is a very stupid way to adapt comic book adaptations. These characters have really rich and culturally deep-rooted backgrounds. So much attention to detail needs to go into crafting these stories. So much iconic source material that you have to simultaneously stay somewhat faithful to while also introducing a new take. I think it can work for more grounded in reality heroes like Arrow, but I think it falls apart when you start introducing superpowered beings like Supergirl and the Flash. You're basically setting yourself up for failure and it's not sustainable long term. Hence why most of their shows seem to go to shit after season 1. And Arrow started going downhill as soon as his superpowered counterpart started being introduced. But anyways, y'all, that's gonna be my TED Talk, man. And if you made it to the end, salute to you. If you made it this far, I assume you like what you saw, so go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe. Also, I'm gonna leave right here a playlist of other videos of me talking about different DC properties, man. Go ahead and give that a look. But much like the hit CW show Riverdale, man, I've been at this way too long, so I'm about to go take a nap. It's your boy Eddie Knight. I'm out.